All right. Well, welcome everyone, particularly Brian, who was generous enough for his time. Brian, partner at Service Ventures, and formerly Director of FinTech Innovation at Service Credit Union. We are really excited to chat today, tell a little bit to the world about our partnership and how ScribeUp and Service have ventured into an amazing partnership and really driving value for both members and the credit union themselves. So, particularly here to show how ScribeUp is driving crowd. Okay, sorry, Erica. One restart if we can. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Is it okay, Brian? Is it okay? Do you want me to just focus on partner service ventures and not the director of fintech innovation, or does it matter?
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, don't worry about it either way. If it comes up, go for it. If not, it's totally fine.
All right. Well, cool. Welcome everyone to the webinar. Appreciate everyone joining. That's on asynchronously right now. Appreciate your time, Brian, and chat a little bit about our partnership between ScribeUp and Service, as well as Service Ventures. Brian is the partner at Service Ventures, and we've crafted a really beneficial mutual partnership between ScribeUp and Service, and really excited to outline that today, particularly in terms of how ScribeUp is driving card primacy and member engagement by helping Service Credit Union become the epicenter of recurring bills for its members. We're going to talk about how this kind of innovation directly supports member financial wellness, empowering your members with the tools to understand, personalize to them, how to manage their money more effectively. And to kick things off, I want to share why we're here and introduce yourself, Brian. So maybe like just kick off any sort of background on the partnership or any kind of overview that might be relevant for the origin story here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jordan. Happy to be here. As he said, I'm the partner at Service Ventures. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of Service Credit Union. So just to give everyone an idea, our goal of our venture fund is to drive the strategy of Service Credit Union forward. A lot of that has to do with driving better results for our members, helping them live their best financial lives. So, I mean, ScribeUp is right in our sweet spot of a product our credit union was interested in using, a net new piece of functionality we wanted to bring to the table. But at the same time, in my seat, it was a great ROI, return on investment opportunity. So it's really a great example of how those two things can come together and how these things can work really well. Going in a little bit, just how Service found ScribeUp, and Jordan, you can keep me honest on this, but I'm pretty sure our CEO David Arugio saw an ad or an interview that you had done about ScribeUp, and this is back when ScribeUp was like a direct-to-consumer business, and I believe he reached out basically saying, "Hey, let's talk." And it's always those stories how these partnerships come together, right? It's the random acts that bring everyone together. But I think what David saw in the beginning and kind of what we continue to see today is I think everyone knows there's a ton of subscriptions out there. I know I have a bunch. And so we see it all the time. How many of our members are paying for Amazon Prime, for Netflix, for all these things? And how can we help our members kind of manage that part of their financial lives? So we saw an opportunity with that, the product in general. I think the other thing that we think about a lot is our long-term strategy of building those relationships with our members. And one of the things we believe in is it's not someone comes through the door and 2 weeks later they get a mortgage and buy their second car with you, right? It's a string of engagements along the way where you're kind of building that proof point of, hey, we're actually here to support you. We see this type of product as a huge value add in getting there. And then obviously, I think every credit union thinks about non-interest income, driving card, being the primary card that people use, bringing new transactions into the credit union. So I kind of think of it as that three-pronged approach when we thought about what is the opportunity to work with ScribeUp. And I think, when you bundle it all together, and we've talked about this with other companies too, but it has a lot to do with the team as well. Like ScribeUp, you easily could have taken David's email and said, no, we're a B2C business. We don't want to do this. But It's the shared vision and then the team that comes together to say, hey, we actually want to work with you to execute this. And I think, Jordan, you and the rest of the team at ScribeUp have definitely proven that you're bought into the credit union mission and willing to take the steps to make this a successful product with our members. So, thank you for that. Yeah, I think that's a background from my perspective. Anything else you think I missed?
No, I promise to keep you honest. So, yes, that's exactly right. I think it was an interview on Fox in the kind of New England area that was sharing just kind of my passion about solving subscription management and solving the kind of pain point around people not knowing what they're spending in terms of auto pay bills. And David crossed paths with that interview very fortunately, and then the rest is somewhat history, as they say. So,
Definitely.
good background on kind of our partnership. Just maybe just one thing to drive into. You talk about kind of the goals of card primacy before ScribeUp. Um, have you thought about like, have you had heard from members about the problems around recurring bills? Brian, you shared a story personally about going through your own service credit union, subscription list post ScribeUp, and just kind of maybe talk to the pain point that members had around recurring bills. And as we think about the audience of folks that are credit unions themselves without kind of the solutioning, kind of where they sit today and what kind of gaps are they knowledgeable or perhaps need to be aware of?
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I'll come clean in public. I know I
I didn't
when
mean to
we
put you on the spot
no,
there.
I it no, it's perfect because I mean, I was gonna say it anyway. When we get a lot of companies that want to work with us from an investment perspective, and the first thing I do is always try the product. And I remember, you showing me how to use the product. I was like, all right, great, I'll go use it. And 30 minutes later, I found a recurring bill for like I think it was $35 a month that was some weird add-on to an insurance policy I had like last year or something like that. And I immediately emailed you back and was like, this is kind of jarring, the fact that, I'm one, like I'm a finance person. I track these things very closely and I'm missing things. Right. And I think repeatedly what we've heard from our members, and you even see it in their reviews of ScribeUp, is they're finding things they didn't know they had. They're making cancellations, and we're able to do some really cool marketing campaigns. Like I know Amazon Prime pricing went up, or so hey, we can actually get in touch with our members ahead of time and make them aware of those things. So I think it's a mixture of hey, there's a lot you don't know, even if you're staying on top of it. But ScribeUp can get in front of a lot of it, even if you understand everything and you already know all of these things. Um, and yeah, so I think that was a pretty good overview. The one thing I'll say is I think the biggest thing for me where we show we're building trust is once people go in and cancel bills they didn't know they had, they start bringing in stuff from other institutions, right? And so I think it just builds on top of the okay, I feel confident that service is giving me this capability to track my spending. So I'm actually going to start moving more into this institution. And that really right there, I think is the first like aha moment. Well, actually second aha moment. I mean, you saved me like $350 a year. So that was pretty good. But the like company aha moment was okay, this is working. People are canceling and then engaging deeper, which I thought was awesome to see.
That's a great story. Appreciate that, Brian, and appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing a personal anecdote. It's a bit of a opposition for me to be in. It's the power of what we do.
Yeah.
I don't find joy in people wasting money, but if we could help them stop that and put an end to that, that's kind of where a lot of the value exists here. But just a fact, just maybe so for some personal appeasement, but 60% of our members across all of our clients are finding bills they didn't realize they're paying for immediately upon interacting with ScribeUp subscription management experience. So you are not alone. I hope that makes you feel a little bit better. But that's kind of the breadth of the pain point that exists of how many people are facing unwanted bills. Just because if you think about it from that personal standpoint, Brian, you had no idea what those bills are. How are you supposed to uncover exactly that intricacy on the insurance payment? That's really what we come to. And I really appreciate you lending itself into the what the next step of it is. So I have that kind of like balance sheet overview of here's where I'm at of the spending I have. I could pull in other payments and we'll show everyone that in a second. But the ongoing relevance of proactively staying ahead of things like upcoming bills, price hikes. That really is what drives reliance and trust with our credit union partners. And that really what happens is the behaviors, and we could get into a little bit of that before we jump into the demo, is that people deepen their relationships with service and folks that adopt the solution. So any sort of just like member behaviors or trends since we've launched this together or things that you've really observed at kind of like a program level or the credit union level that you mentioned some of that depth of behavior, but any sort of trends or outlines of metrics that you've found personally surprising?
Um, yeah, I think it's, there's a few things in particular we like to track, and you help ScribeUp helps us track. I think it's just the number of bills and the number of things we are canceling. I think the pure amount is staggering to me. And it's interesting to kind of watch that grow over time. And the other thing is just there's two sides of the coin. The two main things I look at: cancellations, and then what they're moving over to Service Credit Union. And so watching those numbers grow and what they're moving over to Service Credit Union grow at a frankly like very fast pace is great to see. Now, I think there's way more that um, we intend to work on together, and things like, targeting refinance opportunities or winning over direct deposit in those ways. But for right now, I think it's staying focused on those two things. And we know that if we get this in front of every member we have, we're going to continue driving success both for us and them. So that's really the main goal.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you teasing that out. As we do that, I'm going to jump over to the demo and give me a second to just share my screen on my phone here. Meetings of interesting clients and stuff is just to show how it works. We could speak to the numbers, we could speak to it all, but I think it usually clicks in, perhaps as you mentioned in your personal experience, Brian, but of just how this functionally works. So this is kind of the base experience that typically exists at a credit union. We will park within the credit union experience a subscription 360 tab, which will allow the member to know exactly what bills are being spent without any action across their credit, debit, or any sort of checking account external transaction products such as bill pay. This gives really that kind of first peace of mind, Brian, to your point of, hey, I don't have to sift through my statements. I don't have to sift through my spend history. I'm automatically going to know exactly what bills I have, when they're going to be due, and how much I owe on a monthly basis. Kind of what we call that personal overhead for an individual to know how to plan their financial life accordingly to the things that their life demands in terms of auto paid bills. So you'll see here exactly what subscriptions, but also those recurring bills. So we'll touch back on that point. But these are not just discretionary subscriptions that are going to be managed. This is going to be your cable, utilities, loan payments, rent, a whole host of other kind of recurring auto pay bills that we'll be able to find. As Brian mentioned, we were able to find some add-on on an insurance bill that was particularly his case of kind of waste. And lastly, one of the really cool things is, again, all inherently by just spending on the service credit union cards or checking accounts and using those products as their form of transaction banking partner for these relevant transactions, they're going to have a automatically populated calendar of exactly what's to come, not what's happened, but what's to come upcoming this month of the relevant bills. But the reality about subscription services and the reality of recurring bills is that consumers have these on average 3 to 4 different financial institutions. You think of different cards you put on file over time. Consumers and members are not keeping up to date all of what they happen to put as the payment form on file for bills throughout their whole financial journey. So consumers have aggregated bills in all of these different places, and when they don't know what they're spending, the only real way to figure out exactly what those bills are scanning across other bills. So via Service Credit Union's experience, will give the member the ability to scan in their other financial relationships, which is what Brian teased out as really powerful data opportunities that we could use to drive primacy. But we'll circle back to that. So for the member experience, they're going to come into this and they're going to say, hey, I'm going to scan in my Discover account. Please tell me what the heck I'm spending on my Discover account because today I have no idea what's coming out of that account. And we found on this example that the user had four different recurring bills on that account. And for now, we're just going to show you exactly what that looks like within the vantage point of the credit union's app. Again, so now the credit union is helping your member not only track bills that are automatically detected and tracked on their banking products within the credit union, but all as well as those complementary financial relationships that most members have today. But the reality is, Brian, this is usually when it comes up, it's say, oh, I didn't realize I had a bill that was relevant here. And let's click into the Spotify bill. Again, I'm gonna get an outline of exactly how much that bill is, when it's going to be due, what product on that complementary relationship it's coming out of. We'll tell them, you mentioned the Amazon Prime alert that we sent out to Service Credit Union members. This one mentions that their plan will be increasing by $5 for Spotify in the next month. And that really creates all of the relevant information, insights, and knowledge points that a member needs to make the right financial decision on how to deal with this kind of form of auto-paid bill. So we'll now do one of the most powerful things that we do. Brian teased that it's one of the most popular features within Service Credit Union and it really builds trust. But think about how powerful this is that now within Service Credit Union, I'll just scan my face and directly log in using all my kind of passwordless credentials into the app directly through my credit union's mobile app experience. And now I functionally have canceled that Spotify bill. And if you think about the power of that, as you mentioned, Brian, is now I have trust in my banking partner, in my credit union, service credit union relationship to say, as I'm using their tools, they're going to help me easily get out of these services, which empowers me to use more and more of their banking products because it builds trust and it builds certainty that I will have this bill tracked and canceled if I need to over time, which is really the kind of the peril of the problem in subscription management. We do powerful things like merchandising different loan nudges. So you teased this out in the past, Brian. This member happened to have a auto loan that existed with drive time auto loans. Credit unions are often focusing on trying to build more of that auto loan business in-house, bring more of that relationship with their members to the credit union partnership. And so this is an exact personalized opportunity while Service Credit Union is empowering their members to track that auto loan bill. Perhaps Service Credit Union can offer a better rate. I bet they can to lower that bill with drive time themselves. So this is really kind of the powerful personalized engagement, not only from the member side of things, but obviously you could see the thread of how this is powerful from an ROI standpoint for the member. But as you click along here, you'll see that the member now has these bills tracked all in one place. They have it on their calendar. They can actually even powerfully sync it onto their personal calendar, GCal and iCal, which, as you think about digital engagement, creating healthy loops of folks back into the digital banking experience of service credit unions outside of the competition of push and email notifications. And then lastly, as they exit the app, we will send timely alerts for what's relevant for bills coming up, price hikes due, and really kind of personalized alerting relevant to the member experience itself. Okay, and flipping back out of the demo. So Brian, I'm sure you've seen that experience before. Obviously, in our most people resonate with how powerful that can be for us all as individuals, as members of our banking providers, and how that kind of personalized experience really kind of mitigates some of the things we deal with as consumers on a day-to-day basis. But often what we hear from credit unions or financial institutions thinking about this is, wow, this is a really powerful solution. Our members and users can really benefit from this. But this is ultimately there's an ROI and consideration of resources allocating to this type of product. So maybe jumping into some of the vantage point from the credit union side of what this entails from adoption as you get into kind of considering the ROI for this. If you could outline from what you've seen at Service Credit Union from across the different considerations when you first analyze this as an interesting opportunity and really what you've seen in data in terms of the value this adds to not only your members, which hopefully is clear and proven by this point, but how this adds value to the credit union itself.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll start with the really tangible things, and then we can talk about kind of the other pieces, which are just as important, just for all the fellow math nerds out there, right? So I think the biggest clear cut way just to look at ROI on this is the income that is being driven by people driving more transactions into for us, like into Service Credit Union. And so I'll be honest, like you can very easily take here's the number of transactions they had before. Yes, we made some one-time cancellations, but we're also bringing over recurring monthly transactions into our environment and look at the ROI there, even over a period of 6 months, right? And you're going to have a positive ROI. Just, I would argue, just on that. Interchange income, particularly for the credit unions over 10 billion, want to drive credit cards, right? It's a big opportunity. Just even looking at that slice of the pie. So that would be the first thing I dig into. And I know we have some numbers about on average, someone when they join, they remove, I think on average, $20 a month from their account, and they add 70. And so you can see there, they're adding more than 3x the amount of spending into their account once they remove the waste, whether it is I was unaware of it or the price is going up and we don't want to pay for that anymore, right? But you are building that trust, and that has tangible ROI. I think other than that, one of the things we are already seeing, I think ScribeUp has a very high customer satisfaction rating. So we know our members are seeing the value of it. And over time, I think what that's going to play out as is one, better retention. I know there's, when you're talking about growth, there's always adding new members, but focusing on the ones you have and having a higher retention on those members is just as important. So we're beginning to track that now that we've been rolled out for a period of time where I think the data is meaningful. But just based off of the satisfaction on the product, I'm expecting to see good things there. Deepening the relationship. So I think proving out our strategy of these meaningful microservices build into those larger transactions, which, drive a lot of revenue for the credit union and build that deep, long-lasting relationship. And then the third one is just, I would say, more ecosystem plays like the, what are they called? Why am I blanking? Refinancing opportunities, right? Or driving direct deposit, those types of things. I think it's so critical early on to build that trust that the member is getting value and we're seeing them get value. And then you can move on to all those other opportunities. I think with ScribeUp, it's just a unique experience that initial anchor of this drives value for the member also drives ROI for us, right? So I think it's a full kind of package deal there. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Anything else you want me to go in more detail on, or is that?
No, I think that covers it well. I think, the clearest ROI case is really, obviously, I think you've outlined it pretty interestingly, which is focus on driving value for your members, which drives some sort of outcome in this case. And for the case of subscription management, the clear ROI is that card primacy, $70 of bills coming on service credit union banking products and cards, which is direct non-interest income, which are recurring every month and more than offset the cost of running the program itself. I will comment that the $70 is net of the 20, so it's actually 90 coming in, 20.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just to add more juice to the fire there. And then lastly is like, okay, so now members are interacting more so with service, and then that kind of engagement and retention piece. Obviously, we see a big uptick in 15% of activated users were previously dormant users, and 20% were re-engaged by using bills and moving them onto service cards. So really powerful metrics, kind of as you think of the evolution of how this tool interacts with its members. But appreciate you overviewing that. It's always better to hear it from you all than us in terms of what we see out there. So as we go ahead, Brian, I do want to get to the bigger picture. So ScribeUp, we are very proud to be passionate about one vertical portion of the broader credit union experience, but Service Ventures interacts with kind of broadly the fintech innovation needed for credit unions across the board. So I kind of wanted to give you some of the lane in terms of what you're seeing out there in terms of fintech innovation, identifying and prioritizing new technology. And then I would just quickly advocate for if there's any fintech founders or folks on this call, I would definitely recommend to interact with Brian, reach out to Brian and meet with the Service Ventures team to consider partnering there. They've been amazing partners to us, but I want to give you a lane to just kind of overview what you see out there and kind of broader than ScribeUp, broader than subscription management, what resonates with you in fintech innovation today in the credit union market.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. And obviously I'm here, but I would say likewise to all the credit unions watching, or even other fintechs who think there's a partnership opportunity. I can't say enough things about the team at ScribeUp and how they are aligned with us on the mission to help our members. So it partnership's always a two-way street. So we're equally excited to be working with you guys. Fintech innovation for credit unions, I think it's a pretty hot topic right now. I think for me, the thing that we're focused on, and I think is slightly a differentiator in the space, is where the sole focus is to drive value to our members and drive the strategy of Service Credit Union forward. So, I have one investor, I have one goal, which is our members' Service Credit Union, right? And so in that respect, I'm interested in really talking to anyone who thinks they have a product that can solve a critical problem for Service Credit Union, and by that extension, the larger credit union industry as a whole. Right now, some of the things we're looking in, obviously, the big topic in the industry, technology right now, is AI. We have a few use cases where we're looking at driving efficiency internally by taking some of the most manual tasks that our frontline staff or our loan processors or loan officers have to go through, and helping to automate those so that our people can spend time on the most valuable parts of their job. And again, our members will see that as a benefit as we scale, or they get less wait time or more person to person experience when they're dealing with their loans. And yeah, I think there's other interesting things happening in the world of payments. There always is. There's talks of things like stable coins. So we're really kind of all over the map as far as the verticals we're looking at right now. I think for me, the biggest thing is, what are the goals of Service Credit Union? Stack rank those and go try to find people who are interested in solving them. And I think, again, going back to ScribeUp, that's exactly what David was doing when we reached out to you. And I think this is a great example of how that model can work. When we're able to put assets to work, like an investment as well, it just rounds out everything for us as the ultimate opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that overview, Brian. We're wrapping up here. We did have a few questions from the audience that came in, so I did want to ask a couple of those. One of them seemed to do with kind of the fintech innovation question we were just on. Just from what you're seeing in terms of priorities, and you mentioned responsible to just the members of Service Credit Union. Are there particular specific member segments or financial challenges you're prioritizing over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most interesting and, I think great parts about Service Credit Union is our commitment to military and first responder members and their families. We have a pretty large section of our membership and our employee base that lives and works in Germany for members of our armed forces that are deployed there. And so I think we're always on the lookout for people who want to solve unique challenges for those, members or families. They have to move very frequently. Are there specific finance products for that, or trying to navigate, the payment retirement world of being in the military or a first responder? So I think that's a unique thing about Service Credit Union that we're always interested in. And then, equally, we have roots here in New Hampshire, New England. And so digging into always trying to learn more about the people who live here and their needs and requirements. But I think a lot of the things that we're seeing are common. So, I think ScribeUp, as an example, again, that's applicable to everyone. And so I think when we're talking about our membership broadly or the groups, we're also trying to find those unifying things like ScribeUp or a couple of our other portfolio companies that can help us enhance the experience for everyone.
Awesome. Well, appreciate that overview. Another question we had from the audience, that's something I'm familiar with. So maybe some background as context for folks that are out there, about our relationship with service. So we partnered, almost about a year ago, to originally kick off to members the experience itself. Brian was very attuned to creating KPIs and measuring the success and ensuring the ROI that existed at service. Then ultimately, as we created a QSO ourselves, kind of further partnered for the service venture side of things. So I remember that phase of, kind of those KPIs of predefining before we launch exactly where you'll be seeing the ROI and proving that out over time. But the question is kind of broader in terms of fintech partnership success and measuring that at service. I tease that out because maybe ScribeUp could be an example they use to show how that works. But any overview of like what this looks like and how you're ensuring the services and the vendors that you are bringing to the table at the credit union are, ROI positive and, really serving the mission and value of Service Credit Union.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is actually the area where I spend the most time. And so I'll go quick, but like an overview for us of how these relationships happen is we see something we think is interesting. Great. Take a demo call, meet the team, try to figure out, do we think there's something here? And then I'll take it back if it's me meeting with them, and I'll talk to the operational team here, Service Credit Union, the C-suite, David and his direct reports, and we'll talk through, hey, this is what I saw. How does this align with our strategy? And we'll hammer that out to try to see, is this really the need I thought it was, and does it solve a critical problem? And if that passes, we really enter into this, pretty intense business partnership phase where we get into the details with the company. And like you said, Jordan, you and I did this, right? Where it is, hey, we think we see some value here. Let's put together the business case of here's the expectations for what this will drive for Service Credit Union. And, it's great when we get buy-in like we did with you, Jordan, the rest of the team to go, hey, we know that our product being successful means success for Service Credit Union. And that's really how we try to approach the conversation. And so we'll write down, hey, here are some of our biggest goals. What KPIs can we bring to the table to help measure that this product, obviously with you, ScribeUp, figuring out how is that driving our strategy. And I think that's where we came in with some of the key metrics we talked about today. How much money are our members saving? How much are they bringing into the Service Credit Union environment that they weren't previously? What are the satisfaction scores? Things like that. And we really do a trial phase. And so we were able to put the product to work with our members, see how it was adopted, see how they were using it. And then when I go back to my board with an investment, opportunity that I think is worthwhile, it's this business plan of, hey, we all agreed this is a big problem. We said, these are the things we're going to measure. Here's how it performed. And here's how we think we can do better. Because even if we crushed our KPIs, there's always a roadmap of how we can get better. And so that's kind of the process I like to follow. Obviously, we did that. We saw great metrics with ScribeUp. And then, that kind of allows the investment conversation to go forward. And then, we kind of see where it goes. But those really are the steps. And I think anywhere in that process, if the business isn't aligned, this solves a critical problem. If the business isn't aligned that like this team or this company is the right one we want to partner with, any of that, it's best to go, hey, great to meet you, but we're good. And you focus intently on those opportunities where all of those things align.
Makes total sense, Brian. Thanks for that overview. We do have more questions, but I'm going to be cognizant of your time. I know you're evaluating more opportunities out there for service, so I want to get you back to your day job per se. So really thank you for the time, Brian. Anything last final comments or thoughts just for the folks listening here?
No, I would say, if you're a credit union wondering, does this apply to me? Reach out and talk to Jordan and the team in more detail. And I think this one's widely applicable and would drive value for really all the members out there. So I recommend you take a look in more detail. And for any fintechs out there who are interested in understanding what the biggest problems here are at service credit union we're trying to solve, or just understanding playbooks for the credit union industry in general, reach out. I'm happy to talk.
Awesome. And I will offer the same for any fintech founders that are out there interested in working with Service. Happy to vouch for how powerful this partnership has been and how great of partners Brian, David, and the team there have been for us finding our footing within the credit union market, and has really kind of parlayed our success with Service into some of the market distribution that we've now been able to be successful at since. So couldn't recommend the Service team enough. Thanks again for the time here, Brian. And yeah, that about does it. I appreciate everyone for tuning in.